10 years ago when I started out with the first small team, it was pretty much about building this practice around, building user interfaces, right? And of course, kind of starting to talk about user journeys, starting to talk about, we need to understand our users, we need to do user research, we need to do interviews, usability testing, and so on. But these were all, it was pretty much around, building user interfaces. So it was, UI design evolving into UX. And I think where we are now is, and this is also what we do. When we hire new people to our team, we're looking for product designers. This is how we call it. Okay, so we don't call it UX or UI designer anymore. We don't have these roles anymore in our organization. So we are product designers. So this also, so you have to be a solid designer, right? You need to know your skills and need to know that craft. But there's this whole product part to it, right?
Yeah.
It's you need to understand what it means to build a product. You need to understand the business, the users, and so on. And you need to, you will be working in a product team. Yeah, you will not be working in an agency where you work with a lot of other designers. It's like you work with engineers, you work with product managers, you work with a lot of stakeholders. That and in order to bring a product out to the customer. So it's really, I think the need for more soft skills has become just more and more important over the years. So you have to be really, you have to be good in stakeholder management. You have to be good in communication, presentation, facilitation, all these skills. This is actually what we look at when we hire. We of course look at the portfolios, but from the portfolios we can tell pretty quickly if people understand their craft. So we don't really test the craft when we give them some exercises or something. We actually want them to present something and to communicate and to and this is what we look at, like how good is someone in kind of communicating their work towards others, and because I think that's what's important in our business, and will probably become even more important.
That's true. Like testing those soft skills is pretty hard during hiring process. Like these things are noticeable in work during some period of time. You can see how they work, how they communicate, how they interact with all team members, how they like defend their design decisions, how they persuade people. So yeah, it's really hard to just have judgments based on portfolio, or even during these different parts of interviews. It's really hard to like grasp these nuances of soft skills.
I would say ideally you would want to test everything, but you have limited time on the interview, so you have to decide what parts you would like to test. But from our own experience, we had a chance when we hired a person with like 10 years of experience, nice portfolio, worked with huge corporations, and he was super cool with his soft skills and all the questions about different design challenges. But when actually the work started, the productivity was super slow, and we had to finish our collaboration after the trial period. So sometimes it's tricky because we are interviewing a lot of people, and I know that there are some designers who are so proficient in passing interviews and showing their soft skills and sharing the teamwork as their own work. There is always a risk too. But agree, without soft skills, even if you're good in craft, it's really hard to work on product.
I think very good point. And it's also not, when I look at the different types of personalities that we have on my team, right now we're around 10 people in my team. So there's a mix, definitely, right? So you also need to have a mix of people. There's some and of course there are introverts and there are extroverts, and of course the extroverts are tend to be a bit better in going out there and talking to people, but that's okay. I agree. So something I would always look, I would also always look at is like, what I mean, and it's of course hard to test in an interview. It's do we believe that person is hands on? Even if you're maybe thinking very strategic and are really good in communication and presentation, like, are they willing to also kind of, okay, can they get something done? um, and also work at a certain pace and so on. It's I know you cannot find out everything in an interview, but if you ask certain questions and just have that as part of your interview guideline, you can find out a bit about that.
Definitely. Yeah. But I usually want to see how people think, and not something they already learned what to answer on the interview, but how do they build their thought process. This kind of lateral thinking when they can generate ideas and also vet ideas based on what is viable, what's not.
I think it's always good to kind of let them present. We always ask for, show us something where you had to deal with complexity and with stakeholders. So and talk us through your process. So how did you really approach this, right? So show us the steps. Don't show us the end result. Show us how you got there and what happened on the way and what challenges appeared and so on. So I think this is exactly what you say. So how do you think about it? How do you work in these different iterations? How do you facilitate, how do you facilitate discussion? Like, what do you present in order to have in the early stages of a project? What's the artifact that you show to start a discussion? And from that you can already tell, like, okay, if that is something that is already looks like a final product, that will not probably not to lead to a good discussion. So I'm a big fan of low fidelity sketching in the start. So really, don't touch these tools. Don't draw something. Um, you know, put something in front of people that they can discuss about. That doesn't look like a finished thing. So I think that's important.
I would also think that the difference between just UI UX designer and product designer is the scope of metrics they are thinking about. Yeah, if you are UI designer, you measure just how beautiful is your design. If you are a UX designer, you measure user satisfaction. But if you are a product designer, you have a lot of other metrics you have to think about, like how the business will be influenced by your decision and what is the feasibility of your ideas, how this is going to influence all the products in general, and what would all other stakeholders think about your ideas. Are they going to have a lot of overtimes because of your animation?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's correct. I agree.